Okay.
Thank you, Amy. I'm going to spotlight myself. Yay! I hate this part, but it's fun. Okay, so yes, as Amy said, today we're going to be talking about social media strategies for small businesses. Ashley Foley is one of my people, so she knows, but I give a lot of information. I'm really big into empowering small business owners, and I'll get a little bit into that and the why behind that. So you're going to get a lot of information. I know Amy will put the recording up for anybody that wants to go back. I'm also a bit of a fast talker. I try my best to slow down, but I just naturally speak very quickly. So if you want to be like writing everything down, I will recommend that it will be easy to go back and kind of like catch it on the replay because there's going to be a lot of really good, really valuable information in this. A lot of strategy level talk is what we're going to get into today. So I'm going to put up my little magical slides. We're going to kick it off. My big thing is saving small business owners from the trap of random acts of marketing. It's something I find people fall into over and over again. And between that and marketing feeling really icky, it can be very challenging to move into marketing, especially small social media. So what I'm going to give you here today is going to save you from the trap of random acts of marketing and allow you to take on social media in a way that feels both really authentic and very strategic and intentional. Because I know as small business owners, the last thing we have is any time or energy to waste on something that's not going to really move the needle forward. And one of the reasons I love marketing so much as a professional marketer is that it's really, really effective. Regardless of sometimes we feel like it doesn't work, it's really, really phenomenally great at helping us grow our businesses, which is why I chose it as my profession. So I want to start off. We run with so many assumptions in business, especially in marketing. And we need to really sit back and ask, why do I want to use social media? One of the things that happens when we are small business owners is we actually find ourselves right smack dab in the middle of other businesses' target markets. There is a lot of money to be made out of selling to small business owners. There's programs, there's consulting, there's being a social media manager. We are a very lucrative market to target with products and services. So quite often when I work with people, the assumptions we come to social media with are actually marketing messages that we've absorbed. So we run with assumptions that social media is all about reach and visibility and hashtags and algorithms and trending audios. But as a business owner, one of my biggest things is asking people to pull back and put on their CMO hat, which is your Chief Marketing Officer hat. 50% of small businesses in Canada do not make it past the first 5 years, and 50% of them do. And when you dig into that, the primary reason behind that is whether the owner has cultivated entrepreneurial skill sets. One of the most important skills we can have as an entrepreneur is our marketing skills, which means listening to somebody like me or somebody who is on TikTok or Facebook or whatever needs to be something you do with a high level of discernment. You need to really understand the concepts behind how marketing works before you can make these type of decisions. That's what I'm going to give you here today. It's because I am professionally trained in marketing and I have worked exclusively with independently owned businesses and small businesses. I have some really solid frameworks so you guys don't have to do all the legwork of figuring things out. And then you can figure out how you're going to use social media from a very empowered, very educated space. One of the most important parts when we put on our CMO hat is to save ourselves from random acts of marketing, which is where like maybe you've been posting on Facebook, maybe you've sent out a couple of emails, maybe you tried to work on your website, you're doing all these random things and you're like, nothing really works. It feels like a waste of time and energy. That's random acts of marketing. Professional marketing is done strategically and sequentially. This is how, as a marketing consultant, I always approach everything I do for myself, my own business, for my clients, for my coaching clients. I teach them how to do this. We need to know where we are in business so we know what our business goal is before we can decide what our marketing goal is. Before we say, hey, I want to use Facebook, that's a goal, but what's the purpose behind Facebook? Because we do not want to use Facebook just for the sake of using Facebook. It's actually a really interesting conversation happening right now in the professional marketing world in really large organizations. They have these social media teams that are really, really good at social media, but they've become so disconnected from marketing and the business at large that they're not actually driving the needle for the business. So they're having to kind of reevaluate things and figure out how they can reincorporate the social media team into these type of goals. So they're not just running social for the sake of social. That is what none of us need to do because we do not have large teams. We have either small teams or ourselves. So everything we do with our marketing and especially our social media needs to drive our needles forward. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to look at where we are in business and what that means our goal is, and then how we can use social media to push that specific goal forward. So this is me. As Amy said, my name is Cheyenne O'Driscoll. This is my little logo up here. I am a marketing coach and consultant. I have been doing this 6+ years now. I have worked with over 150 local business owners and solopreneurs. I absolutely love what I do. I'm really passionate about local consumerism. My mom owns a brick and mortar in downtown Trenton. I just published a community magazine completely as a passion project for independent businesses in Trenton. My longest running client is a local gym, and I started as the social media manager there. I convinced him to let me take over the socials. Now I run all of the marketing. And over the last 5 years, through COVID and the shutdowns and big names moving into the market, lots of competitors, we've actually been able to grow that business from $5K a month in revenue all the way up to, we just hit our latest target, which is $30K a month in revenue. That's what this type of marketing allows us to do. Those are my handles if anyone wants to connect. I love connecting with especially local business owners in Trenton. I serve people pretty much in Southern Ontario. I have clients in Kingston, clients in Stratford, but I really like connecting to their Bay of Quinte people. So this is what we're going to talk about today. First, we're going to talk about our business stages. When we can identify where we are, then we know what we need out of our social media. So in really, really basic terms, we're going to look at where our business is so that we can figure out what is our primary goal for our marketing right now. And then I will show you how you use social media to help you accomplish that specific goal. We're going to talk about start stage strategies. Most of us are either going to be in start stage or stabilized stage. Start stage is that very beginning of business where you're really getting your feet underneath you and you're solidifying things. You're making sure you know who wants what you're selling, that type of thing. Stabilized stage is where you're more into business. You know what you're selling, you know what your product or service is. Now you really just want to like make sure things are steady and consistent. And then scaling is where we want to amplify. We want to grow. We'll talk a little bit about that too. And then I'm going to get into the solid tactics of it. I want to make sure you leave here with things you can go out and actively do. It is going to be very high level because it's very easy to go and Google specific things or look something up on YouTube. I want to give a lot of value for your time here today to give you that over guidance, the frameworks in order to be able to plug that stuff in. And then if you have questions, I'm going to have lots of time probably for Q&A. As I said, I give a lot of information. What tends to happen with my webinars and my trainings is people will go back and watch a few times because it takes time to integrate it. So if you don't have any questions specifically about what I talk about, because it's still kind of processing, that's okay. Any other questions? I love workshopping. Anything that even you come here with today at the beginning, feel free to save it and ask me it at the end. Excuse me. So when we talk about marketing is not random acts. It really should be done in a system. When we're first building our business, this is a little advanced, but this should always be the goal. Once you really have your feet underneath you and you want to get serious with your marketing, what you actually want is a system. This is a 3-part authentic marketing system I've developed. This is all we need as small business owners. All of the things that you hear around marketing falls into this. The first pillar of it, number 1 up there, is your brand strategy. The second one, which is a lot of what we're going to talk about today, is your content marketing strategy. The third one is your conversion funnel strategy, and it all leads to sales and revenue. All of your marketing is supposed to be working together to support your business goals of sales and revenue, because that is why we are in business. We like positive impact our community, but we can't continue to do that if we don't have the revenue coming in that we need. With content marketing, so social media is just a channel for communication. It's just a channel to deliver your content on. Email is a channel, YouTube is a channel, print advertising is a channel. They're all just communication channels for your content marketing. The goal of content marketing, especially social media, is this little orange button. That is the whole point of everything we do. And what that is our audience. This is an audience of people that know, like, and trust us. That is how we start to create a market share. When we have a group of people who are good potential customers or clients for us, and we've built a relationship with them through our content marketing and our social media, we become either their potential option or their preferred option. And that is how you build a business that is sustainable. If you have to constantly go out there and hustle for new clients or new customers, it's exhausting, as anyone who's been in business any length of time knows. At the start stage, it's definitely a piece we put into our business, and I'm going to talk about that. But eventually, the goal with content marketing and social media is to build an audience. As marketers, we know one of the biggest assets we can help an audience, a business build, is their audience. So I just want you to keep that in mind, that what we're doing and what we're talking about, the end goal is always this audience that is warm. And the reason behind that is when we have a product or service we want to sell and we put information about it in front of different audiences, a cold audience, which is people who do not know us, they do not like us, they do not trust us, they have not had a chance to grow a relationship with us, the conversion rate is very low, and this is even generous. 1 to 3% conversion rates is about what you get. And that, again, that's very generous. That's if you have a really, really good promotion, a really good ad. This is if you have been trying social media and you put out something and you get no response, it's probably because you have a cold audience. When we're using social media correctly, we start to build a warm audience and even a hot audience because they get a chance to know, like, and trust us. And those convert at a much higher rate, which means that when you put a promotion in front of that audience, now you're actually going to get people who are going to convert. You will get people who will come into the store, who will make online purchases. If you have e-commerce set up, they'll book discovery calls, they'll become leads, but this is much less likely to happen if your audience is cold. So social media, I always tell clients when we start, it is a long game. It is low and slow because it takes time to build a relationship with an audience. I have a client that I've been working with, we're almost at a year, and we've been steadily doing social media, and now they're starting to get people DMing and reaching out and becoming leads. So if you're looking for a quick win, social media is not the option, but it has really, really substantial return on investments. If you know how to take it on and go at it in a sustainable way, which I am going to really, really give you that option today, because this is where I have worked dozens of social media accounts, because I started as a social media manager, plus my own social media accounts. So I've really, really systemized this so that it works with the limited time we have. I know that we don't have much time. We don't have a lot of extra energy to plug into this type of stuff, but consistency is really important. So I'm going to give you a strategy that will allow you to consistently be on social without you having to consistently be on social. It's a really nice little way to do it. So let's talk about business stages. This is going to be a very kind of basic overview, but it's surprising how enlightening this can actually be. Sometimes we don't even know how to look at business to really recognize where we are so that we can get strategic. So if we're in the start stage, we have one goal. If we are first starting our business, we have one goal as a business owner. We need to prove that people want our product. That's all we're doing. We can get caught up in all of these shiny objects and we can try and do all kinds of really cool things. Those are for later. We don't have a business until we know people want our product. And the marketing goal that comes along with that is that we want to start understanding our target market. We need to go to market. So we need to get in front of potential clients or customers. And while we're doing that, once we get sales on our friends and families, even though it's very sweet of them to purchase from us, they're not our target market. Once we start getting sales beyond them, we want to pay attention to who it is that's purchasing from us, that we would love to purchase, would love to have purchased more. We want to know who they are. We want to know their challenges, their pain points, their language that they use. And the only way we can do that is if we really have direct connection with our target market, with those people we're first engaging with. When we first, I'm going to do some muting. There we go. Okay. I was hearing some things. When we are first building our business, one of the things I really suggest for people is not to lean too heavily into social media to try to bring in new people. That's essentially your go-to market. If you have really, really great content creation skills, if you happen to naturally be a heavy social media user and you know how to put together really great reels, you could potentially lean into it. But out of all of my experience working with all of the people I've worked with and building my own business, you will be much better served by more direct ways of going to your market, signing up for markets and fairs, going to networking events, really leveraging one-on-one and direct connection to help bring people into your audience. So I'm going to show you how you use social media at this stage, but I want you to understand it's not the strongest go-to-market strategy, which is the most important thing you can do at the start, but we can definitely use it to support your go-to-market. So this usually takes about, the very, very start where you first come up with idea to 3 to 5 years. This is that stage that most people get caught in. When we say 50% of small businesses don't make it past the first 5 years, it's because they get caught here and they aren't able to move into the second stage. Our second stage of business is the stabilized stage. We've got our feet under us. We know what we're selling. We know who's buying it. We have lots of insight into our target market. Now we want to stabilize things. We want to make sure we're getting steady sales. And the goals for this becomes with our marketing. What we're really saying with get steady sales is we want to establish a market share. We want a portion of our market that belongs to us and that we are their choice. They will come back to us, they will refer us, they will recommend us. So we have a market share. Social media is really, really good for supporting this goal. And the way we do that is going to be in campaigns. I'm going to talk to you about that in a bit. This is the make or break stage. The businesses who are able to establish this and able to get steady sales are the businesses that continue on. Because if we are not getting steady sales out of our business, it's very hard to continue being a business person. Either we have to go back to something else or we try a new business, right? The whole point of our business is that it needs to be able to support us and pay us. So that usually takes about year 3 to 5 to 7 to 8. It depends on what we're doing. And then quickly the scale stage. The point of this is we want to make more money. We've stabilized our business. We know it's successful. Now we want to scale it and amplify it. The marketing goal there just becomes expanding our market share. Either we move into a new market, like I'm in Trenton. So if I'm selling to Trenton and then I decide, hey, I want to sell to Belleville as well, that's a new market. So I'm going to expand my market share to include a market in Belleville. Or we can develop new products and services, or we can develop new products and services for like an adjacent market. If we're selling to moms, maybe then we can develop something for the kids, or we can develop more products and services to sell to more to our primary market. So either way, we are amplifying and expanding what we've already built. What happens in that first stage, all of that insight that we cultivate by going to fairs or market fairs, going to networking events, having a lot of one-on-one conversations, talking to the people who come into our brick and mortar, really getting to know our clients and customers, that becomes what we turn into social media content. If we don't have that, it is very, very frustrating to start producing social media content because there's no substance behind it. We're no different than someone else who decides to pop up on social and just talk. What really, really creates substantial social media content and marketing and content marketing, any of it. We have more. Okay, I'm gonna mute that. There we go. I think everyone's muted. What really creates impact is that insight. So the insight we get from the first stage becomes the marketing we build on social media in the second stage. And then in the scale stage, we can amplify that out because we know it works. We know it resonates. And then we can put ad spend behind it. We can start to automate it. So I just want you to understand how to do this from wearing a CMO hat. So you're not just like, I love social media. I get quite often, one of the most common questions I get as a marketing consultant is, should I be on Facebook? And my answer is always, it depends. And people hate that answer, but it's the honest one. And this is why it depends. I do not want anybody who is in the start stage thinking the best thing for them to do is to grow their audience on Facebook when really they would be much better served by signing up for some fairs and networking events. Really, really important. We're looking at it from a effectiveness point of view. You can definitely use social media at the start, and that's what we're going to talk about. I love the power of social media for us who are starting our businesses. It is actually one of the easiest pieces of marketing to put into place. That statistically, what happens is when we meet people, when we're doing our go-to-market events, there is a huge amount of them that are not quite ready to buy, but probably would be ready to buy if they had the right opportunity to get to know us better. And that's where social media comes in at the beginning. We're going to talk a little bit about top of funnel versus middle of funnel. Not everyone knows what a funnel is, as some of it's a little in question whether it's the best way to depict it. You can also say customer journey. Essentially, it's the process people go through with our business where they first get to hear about us to when they make a decision to purchase or go into a sales conversation with us. There are very systematic steps psychologically that everybody goes through. We all go through when we're making a purchasing decision. Every single one of our clients and customers have gone through that when they're making a purchasing decision. The art of marketing is the art of your funnel. So when we talk social media, when I say start stage, I also mean like if you haven't been able to really get serious with your social yet, this is always where I recommend you start, regardless of the size of your business. And you're going to understand why when I'm done explaining it. So the top of our funnel is awareness. That is what I was talking about when I say go to market. It's just having people become aware that we exist, we're a business and we have something to sell. That is the very, very first piece. And when we're talking social media or content marketing, that's just called top of funnel content. Very basic. The whole point of top of funnel content is attracting new people to your business. The goal is to reach as many people as possible. Quite often, what you are going to hear when it comes to social media is you need reach. You need to work with the algorithm because the algorithm is going to give you so much more reach. If you use trending audio, you're going to get this much more reach. If you're using Reels, you get reach. Reach is relevant only when social media is your top of funnel. That's a really important piece that we understand as our own CMOs, that reach is maybe what the algorithm and the platforms would like us to always be aiming at because that's better for them. It doesn't mean it's the way we're going to utilize social media. We utilize it based on what part of our funnel it's going to be fulfilling for us. And at the beginning stage, awareness is best created by really direct means. Unless you've been in business a while, we need to kind of put our egos aside and realize that why would people be paying attention to us? We have to have some value in the market before people will pay attention to us. So if you're in a networking event, that's a great reason to pay attention. You're in the same group, you're in the same room, you get a chance to have a one-on-one conversation. If you're at a market, you're there, you're pouring in your time and energy to show up. It's a great reason for someone to look at your stuff. That's why those first stages of business are really best served by us really investing our time and energy into the top of funnel. Even as your business grows and you get to pull back your time, top of funnel is still the best place to invest it because it fills up the rest. When we talk about social media at the beginning, it's amazing for our consideration stage. This is middle of funnel content. And the whole purpose behind this is providing more information to people who know you to help them choose. So people who see you at a market or people who walk by your storefront, if you have something that allows them to follow you on social media, this is one thing I always say to my coaching clients if they're at markets, put a QR code. Always give them a chance because there is a huge portion of people who are not ready to buy, but could be ready to go in your funnel. So if they're able to follow you then on social, you can give them a chance to learn the information they need to then become purchasers later down the road. And our goal for all the content in the middle of our funnel is help them get to know, like, and trust us. We're going to really go into that. And it's not complicated. It's actually really, really simple. And it's one of the things I get the most excited about to give small business owners because most of us are not doing it just because we just don't know to do it. So as soon as we plug this into our social media, you see such quick turnaround. I have a coaching client. We started doing this. And she's a consultant, really high-end consultant. And she'd been actively using LinkedIn, but wasn't getting a lot of traction. She started doing this, and within like a month, she had 2 or 3 people reach out. She's like, what just happened? Like, it's just because they're seeing you, it's keeping you top of mind, they're getting to know, like, and trust you, and that's all that they needed. Bottom of funnel is not a big piece for social media. This is where people actually make a purchase from you. It's the actual conversion. If you sell e-commerce or digital products, you could look at bottom of funnel or conversion for social. But for the most part, small businesses, I find we tend to do our conversion either on a landing page or a sales call or inside our brick and mortar. So this, for the most part, is not something we're going to really focus on. But if you are wanting to sell on social, just know it is an option, but it's a different skill set. One of the reasons I love social for the start stage is because statistically, 76% of consumers are going to look at your online presence before they're going to physically visit a business, or they're going to check out your website. What happens is somebody who knows of you recommends you to somebody else, and the first thing they do is Google us every single time. Or they drive by. My mom's a lighting store in downtown Trenton, is like lit up at night, and people drive by, and the first thing they do is Google her. We check people out online. So your social media becomes the perfect place for them to get to know more about you, because 76% of people are doing this. If you're going and doing any kind of work to get in front of your market and you don't have your social media optimized to capture the 76, they're just falling right out of your funnel, and they don't need to. There's no reason for it. It doesn't take a lot to set it up to make sure that you're really able to connect with people. It's actually very easy. And it goes back to that know, like, and trust. You do want to set up your profiles, optimize your profiles. That's an important piece. But beyond that, in the content, all you need is what I call the core content bundle. And what I love about this, the way I've designed it, is that it's reusable. I know we do not have a lot of time. There are times in our business where we're really busy. We're going to talk about sales cycle in a little bit later. And we're not going to grab a picture for social. It's not going to happen. Social media is the last thing on our brains. This is why you want a core content bundle. And I'm going to give you an outline of what you want to include. You just park it on your desktop, in your Google file, wherever you keep your stuff, and it is always available. It's what we call evergreen, and it will consistently help your audience get to know, like, and trust you, and it will give you reusable content that you can consistently put out on your social media, so that you never have to worry that, oh no, a couple of weeks have gone by and I haven't posted anything, I better scramble. You won't have to do that, because as small business owners, that's not sustainable. Scrambling's not going to work. We cannot be reactive. And there are going to be times when we're busy elsewhere. So we want a core content bundle. And what it does is that 76% of people that are checking us out online, regardless of the stage of business we're at, they're going to get on our social and they're going to see this content, and they're going to get a chance to know, like, and trust us, which means more of them are going to keep in our funnel and be able to convert. And I'm going to give you guys my give, ask framework. This is a very basic, simple way to understand your posting cadence. So the ratio of how we want to show up on social media to not feel icky, but still be able to leverage it for business is this. We post twice, providing value. This is about each week. You can up it if you really want to go hard at social, but this is about the ratio I recommend you keep. I'll talk about that a little more later. Like I said, it's a posting framework, and what it does is it helps us balance business goals and social media best practices. So if you're new to social media, you haven't really been using it, the way, as a consultant, I highly recommend you use it is to build the know, like, and trust, because you have people who are hearing about you. You have people who've purchased from you once, maybe as a bit of an impulse without knowing you too well. You want to give them the chance to become part of your audience. Initially, the people who check us out on social are people who have heard about us from somewhere else, either a recommendation, or they've run into us somewhere, or they've seen us as they've driven by. You want to use and leverage this free online business card that you have and the content you get to put out there. You really want to make sure you're catching as many people in that funnel and you're not letting them drip off, because those first customers are everything when it comes to business success. And this will start to grow your audience so that when your business grows, Now you know who you're selling to. You've been paying attention to the language they use. As a marketer, this is a piece I really want people to understand. When you're first building your business, you're also doing your market research. Really, really big organizations will pay $20,000 to have a whole team come in and do market research, and they'll run case studies and all that. I actually think our market research is higher quality because it's natural and it's organic, but it takes longer, and it means we're paying attention. So really pay attention to what's happening and what your clients and customers are saying, because then when we get into that stabilized stage of business, we have all kinds of insight to know what to even put on our social media. There is no point in trying to arbitrarily pick out of our brains what we think would be cool. We really want to understand what our audience cares about, what they're looking for, because the whole point of social media is to like radiate out this communication that says, hey, I know you, I help people like you, or I serve people like you with my products. People like you like to purchase from people like me. And the only way we can do that is if we really understand our audience. So that's the point of social. When we enter the stabilized stage, this is when we get to use it as top of funnel content. This is when, and that messaging, when I talk about insights and the language people use, the marketing term for that is messaging, which you've probably heard. That messaging is what allows us to successfully create top of funnel content. We could like game the algorithm and obsessively follow all of the trends, and we might get something. You might grow an audience, but it probably won't be your target audience of people who want to buy from you. It'll just be random social media viewers. And I've seen this happen. So it's not just about growing an audience, it's about connecting to the people who will be the right fit for your business to purchase from you. So top of funnel content now becomes something that we want to invest in. You can DIY this. Some of the best social media, especially for us small business owners, we don't want to be too highly produced because we actually lose our charm. One of the reasons people who shop local or shop small, one of the things I really love about that is the natural, the charm of it. So you want to be careful with how much you polish it up, but it does take investment. You are going to want to have stuff like professional photography for some things, maybe some videos that are made by someone who creates videos for you, or you're going to really invest in your own ability to create content, which is very easy to DIY. It's not as hard as sometimes we think, especially because a lot of the tools are built in and there's a lot of apps we can use. But if you don't already have it, you have to be realistic that you're going to be earmarking time and energy to learn it. It's a good investment. If you want to DIY, it is worth investing in your content creation skills. It's one of the things I've really leaned into. And to give you an example of how effective it can be, the holiday magazine that I created, Wishes on Main Street, I started a completely new blank social media account. I think it was 6 weeks ago. I didn't have a lot of time. I'm a single mom of 3, plus I run my business, so there's only so much I could do with it. I'd love to grow it more. I think I put out maybe 20 pieces of content, completely organic, but because I use top of funnel type of content, and I'm going to teach you guys how to do that, I was able to get almost 10K views from completely local eyeballs, which is all I wanted in Trenton. To be able to get in front of 10,000 people organically, that even though social media has become more challenging, I don't know anything else I am not going out and talking to 10,000 people one-to-one. There is no way I have the time for that. I can't think of any other communication channel that would allow that for us. So it can be very, very powerful. When we talk about using it in this next stage of business, the other piece I want to give you is to think of it in terms of campaigns. You should always have your relationship building, which is the core content I talked about earlier, always having that stuff that goes out that creates know, like, and trust. And again, it's evergreen, so you don't have to make it all the time. You actually make a bundle of like 15, 20 posts, and you just reuse it over and over again, because the things about you and your business don't tend to change. Those are pretty static. Other than that, now we have 4 possible ways we can use our content marketing and our social media specifically. I want you to understand when I talk campaigns, they're just structured communication that you put out for a specific objective. You can do it just on your social media. You can do omni-channel campaigns, which is if you have an email and social, you should be putting the same campaign out on both. Strongest campaigns incorporate a couple different types of communication channels. If you want to go like really knock it out of the park, you'd have a radio ad, some email campaign, some email messages, and social media. That would be a really, really strong campaign for a small business. So the 3 types of campaigns, and I'm going to talk to you about how we actually cycle through them. This is the other piece about professional marketing. You are not always doing the same thing. You work with the market. You work with the sales cycles. This is how you stop feeling like you're beating your head against a brick wall. Even businesses like Coca-Cola do that. You know what they're putting out right now? Their brand building nostalgia campaign. Every year at Christmas, Coca-Cola puts out the same type of commercials, and it is across all of their channels. I haven't taken a look at their social media, but I bet it's branded for nostalgia and Christmas themes. They put out an AI generated ad that marketers are a little up in arms about. But brands as big as that cycle through these campaigns. They're not always trying to sell. And social media, it's really important to do this because of the fact that it is social. So these are the 3 types of campaigns we can cycle through. We can build our brand through a brand campaign. We can make sales or conversions through a conversion campaign, and we can increase our visibility with a reach or visibility campaign. So even though we can still use it for top of funnel, there's other ways we still want to be using our social media. If your goal is to grow a business and not just to be an online influencer, which I would bet chocolate everybody in this room right now is not aiming to be an online influencer, you're not just obsessed with reach. There's always more to be thinking about, including your brand and your sales. We want sales. And our brand is a really, really big component of how we have sustainability in our business. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So we always have the core content going out, and that is building like, know, and trust. It's building relationships. Always want to make sure anybody who lands on our social media, regardless of how big our business is, they get a sense of who our business is, who we are, our personality, what we value, what we sell, what we do. I am notorious. Nobody go on my website because it can actually be very hard to figure out what I sell. I'm not that clear on it sometimes because I do a lot of one-on-one. So those are our 2 strategies. If you're first starting with social media, you want that core content. You want to be creating like, know, and trust. You want to make sure anybody who has heard of you has now got a place online to go through the middle part of your funnel. You want them to be able to build a relationship with you. This includes people who have purchased from you once, people who have not been able to purchase from you yet, people who have been referred to you. Everybody is going to check you out online. You don't want to miss that opportunity to connect with the right people. And it's very easy because it's evergreen, so you don't have to constantly be doing it. Even if you're in that hustle start stage where you're really busy building your business and figuring things out in other ways, this is how you use social media with that bundle that you make once and you just keep reusing. If you're in a more advanced stage of business, you feel like you're ready to get really serious into your social media, you're going to start looking at it in terms of campaigns and which goal you want to move forward at which time of the year. I'm going to break that part down too. Excuse me. So you can build your brand, you can build your sales, or you can build your audience. You cannot do all 3 at the same time. This is where a lot of us get frustrated and overwhelmed by marketing, is we think, when you say, okay, if I had started this, which maybe I should next time, and said, what do you want to do with your social media? It would have been a list of, I need to grow an audience, and I want people to message me or buy from my website, and I want more people to know about me. So it would have really been, I want all of these things. And the way we actually do this on the tactical level is spreading them out over the year, depending on where our market is and where our business is. So now I'm going to get into the nitty gritty of what this actually looks like in action. This is a good place to take notes if you do want to really know how to implement this. I'll go through the start stage, and then I'll go through the campaigns, the more advanced ones. I love campaigns. I did a campaign boot camp last summer. Ashley was in it actually. And they're just, if you've ever watched Mad Men, I watched Mad Men, and I'm pretty sure it's half the reason I ended up in marketing. It's that creative, really focused energy around marketing, and it's what makes it fun rather than sitting there feeling like you're constantly trying to do the same thing and nothing works. So when we talk about building know, like, trust, what this really is, this is consumer psychology. Every single one of us has a very specific stages we go through when we're making a purchasing decision. We ask ourselves, what do I know about this person or this business? Do I know them? Do I have any information? Do I like them? Do they feel like my kind of business? And do I feel like I can trust them? You're so sweet, Ashley. Do I feel like I can trust them? If we have not satisfied this for our clients or our customers, they're not going to move forward with us unless they're really, really eager. And it's not likely. And I do, because I'm in service, I do a lot of conversations. If someone has not yet built a relationship with you, they don't understand who you are, they don't like or trust you, that's where you get on sales calls and they're kind of like, okay, prove to me why I should work with you. And it's just not a great energy. When we give them this, we get to build a audience of people who don't have to always talk to us one-on-one to be able to build this. It means they can pop on Google, they can Google us, they can find our Instagram or LinkedIn, and they'll take a couple of minutes scanning through it, and they'll start to build this know, like, and trust naturally, with us being completely hands-off. It means the people who get our business card, the people who scan our QR code, they get a chance to build know, like, and trust, and they do not fall out of our funnel. All know is creating clarity around what you do and what you offer. Clarity sells. People are in decision fatigue 90% of their day, myself definitely included. If sometimes you're like, how come that business is even making money? Why are people buying what they're doing? It's a really low quality product or service. It's probably because they're very clear, and that is helping people move through the decision-making process. When we just make it very clear on our social what we do, we help meet this need. Easy examples, and this is how you start to create a content bundle. You make a couple of posts for each of these. You park them in a folder and you reuse them. So for the know level of your content bundle, you want an introduction post. Really good social media. We have some incredible marketing people in our small business world here in the Bay of Quinte. They do this so naturally. If you watch their socials, you'll start to see it. Introduction posts. Every now and then you'll see them pop up and be like, hey, I know there's some new people around here. I wanted to introduce myself. You just give the background of who you are and what your business does, a brief little history of it. That's going to help create know. It's silly how simple this seems, but it is so impactful because of that psychological need people have to even feel like they know us. Product and service highlights, just being like, hey, did you know I offer da 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 da? Did you know at the store we carry da 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 da? You're not asking them to buy, you are just giving them information, creating clarity around what you sell. Educational posts, really basic tips and facts related to your industry. Again, it's going to create clarity around, clearly this is something this business is about because they're talking about it. So that's the know portion. One of the biggest challenges as small businesses when it comes to doing our own marketing is actually getting out of our own head. As a marketer, my job is really to have one foot planted in the market and one foot planted in the business. You really need to be able to recognize that just because it's clear to you doesn't mean you're clearly communicating it to your audience. And it's very difficult. So these will help you with that. Even if you don't recognize it, just making sure you create these posts and having them go out will take care of it for you. Liking, I am a big believer, and I think it's one of the really beautiful parts about small business marketing and independent business marketing. We don't tend to be pushy. We're not out to just like, I want to grab every dollar I can from every person I can. We really want to serve people that feel like the right people to serve. We're in a very reciprocal relationship with our community because we live in the same area. There's a different level of authenticity that comes from that. So like is really important. That helps us create connection with your business and you on a personal level. This is one of the biggest advantages we have as small business owners. We might not have the budgets, we might not have huge teams, but what they do not have, that they cannot buy and they cannot engineer, although they try very, very hard to do it, is authenticity and being a real person. Being authentic helps people connect. And like content is how we make sure they get the chance to see who we are as a person. Again, it's very easy in our minds. We're like, oh yeah, of course I'm a person. They know someone owns this. People need to see it. We cannot make assumptions. We cannot expect them to do the cognitive work to figure it out. This is the benefit of marketing, is that we do the cognitive work for them, so that we are communicating with them in a way that makes it easy for the right fit people to move forward. Examples for like content behind the scenes, again, a very common one you're going to see on social media. The city did a really, really fun one where they were all aligned with the music, and it was so cute. And the response they got, Amy, I saw, I think both of us were on there like, this is amazing content. It was because it was this like lighthearted kind of behind the scenes personal aspect of it. The brand equity of the city rose so much with that one piece of content because it helped us like them more. It helped us see these are all just people in our community doing silly, I think it was a Queen song. It was so well done. I want them to do so many of those. So that's the beauty of it. That's how strongly it impacts people and their association of you. So behind the scenes, just showing what happens in your business day to day, these can feel so impractical. Social media is the appropriate place to bring these. All of this, you need to kind of take into mind what kind of business you are. If you're in B2B and you're a highly professional service, behind the scenes, maybe not so relevant, maybe like a little conference thing, that type of stuff. So definitely keep in mind what's appropriate for you and your business. Personal stories, sharing stories that your audience can relate to. You always want it to be relevant to your audience, which again, this is why we want to be having direct conversations with that first group of people that were becoming our clients and customers, because we start to understand the overlaps between us. There's a lot of business owners I can connect to, because there's days where like I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And that would be a really great personal story to share if I had a moment like that, because I do not know a single business owner that has not had those moments. And being able to share that, like, oh my God, the mess of this is insane. And being able to relate to it helps them get to like me, because I'm real, I'm authentic like they are. Fun and interactive posts. This is where you can bring in some lightheartedness, especially Instagram is a really good place for this. Doing polls, asking engaging questions. It brings in some of that reciprocal nature again, where it's like, this is a two-way conversation. Social media engagement is not always the goal. Just like reach is not always the goal, you will hear 1.5 million ways from the platforms and everybody else how engagement is the goal, because that's what they want. At the end of the day, the platforms are there to keep people on as much as possible, and it works best for them if we're creating engaging content. It does not mean that's what we have to do as businesses. If it's part of our strategy, it's great. It's not required. The consultant I was talking about earlier, after having posted for a couple of weeks, she's like, it's not really anything happening. I'm not getting any more likes or any more comments. I was like, oh, you just wait. People are looking. And sure enough, she had it like 2 or 3 organizations reach out to book her as a speaker. And she's like, Cheyenne, you were right. They were just watching. A lot of us, an interesting piece to this, if you are not a heavy social media user yourself, which tends to be quite often in the small business world, there's a really high chance your target audience is people like you, and they're probably not really heavy social media consumers either. They might like to keep up with what's going on, but they're probably not the people who are on their phone constantly commenting and engaging. So it's not always that we need a high amount of engagement. We want to have a presence, and we want to be top of mind, and we want to be connecting with our target audience. Engagement's definitely one way we can do that, but it's not the end all and be all. So those are really easy ones. And you can see how you can make a couple of these very quickly, very easily. You make 2 or 3 of each of these and you have a whole content bundle. You park, you don't have to remake it. You make sure, I use Google Docs. I just create a little chart. I have my written portion called your copy with my hashtags. Here's a random tip I'm going to give you guys. Hashtags are on their way out. Instagram and LinkedIn both had a really big announcement they did recently. Instead of hashtags, you want to be looking at keywords. In the copy portion of our social media posts, the words that we're using are now what the algorithm is combing through to see whose feed we go into. So almost like social SEO is essentially what's happening. So worry less about your hashtags and more about making sure you're indicating your geographic community you serve, your industry you serve, what you offer within the actual written part of your post. So these are our like content, very easy to create, a couple for each of these. You're already up to 6. Add the last ones, we're up to 12. And then we have trust content. The whole purpose of trust content, especially online, is to establish credibility and show why people should choose you, the right fit people. We live in what's called a post-trust economy. Thanks to decades and decades of advertising and marketing, people do not trust advertising and marketing very highly, as they shouldn't. We're lucky enough. I was watching a YouTube thing the other day, and this really horrendous advertisement came up. And I had to cringe so hard because I can see why so many people find advertisements really icky because they're very manipulative. Trust, this is what we have to build. Depends on your industry. If you're like a low priced consumable, you don't need to build as much trust. Generally, small business owners tend to be offering something of high quality. Most of us are not trying to peddle commodities. There's no passion in that. So we do have to really help people understand that we're not just like all the other businesses that are trying to grab a dollar. So trust is an important piece we want to build. As a marketer, I have to do it even more so. It's a really big part of my own content. Examples for this: testimonials, social proof is gold. And again, that is one of those pieces you're going to want to cultivate at the beginning parts. All of those people that you're being given that beautiful opportunity to have a close dynamic with, you're talking to them directly, ask them for reviews and testimonials, ask them to do a Google review, really build that up, because then you can cross-utilize it on your social media. So this is one of the way we build trust, because it's not just us saying, I am so awesome and trustworthy. It is somebody else being willing to voice that from their experience with us. Case studies, especially if you're in a professional industry, there's a lot of creative ways you can do this, but something that shows the success stories, like my mom owns a lighting shop, so she'll show pictures of the lights up in someone's house, the little mini case study. And that builds trust again, because people are able to see the results. They're able to see what you're actually able to help people accomplish, rather than you just telling people. And if you get into high level advice, tips and how-tos, really showcasing your expertise or your knowledge, that's another really good way to build trust. I have a client who owns a loose leaf tea shop in Kingston, and she's actually a tea sommelier, which is super cool. I didn't even know that was a thing. So one of the things she does is she holds workshops where she teaches people to pair teas with different like cheeses and chocolates and that kind of stuff. So that level of expertise that she's demonstrating, and she spills that over into her content, it helps build trust. So you can walk into her shop and everything that she's selling has been picked with her standards. It's been picked with her level of expertise. So even in a product-based business, expert advice is a really great way to help build trust. So you can see in that content bundle itself, you make 2 or 3 of each of these types of posts, that you have a full month of content that you can put out and you can reuse. It's really beautiful for when we get into really peak sales cycles to be able to tap into these. You're like, there's zero way I have any time. I know anybody in retail right now. I have a couple of clients who are doing a program with me, and they're like, Cheyenne, I'm here and I'm watching the trainings and I'm listening to them afterwards, but the work is going to have to wait because I'm in retail. Like, I totally understand. This is really good content when you're busy building your business, which all of us needs to be doing. So using this content and then this framework will set you up for social media for quite a while. This is the give, give, ask framework. Very simple. When I started in marketing and I was doing social media management, I had to create a structure for posting. And I needed to merge my understanding as a professional marketer and consumer psychology with the actual capacities of independent small businesses. And this is the framework. All it is, very simple guidance, 3 posts a week at minimum. If you're going to be on social, with the one caveat of LinkedIn, if you're a highly professional service, you can get away with a bit less. But for the most part, if you want to start using social media, be able to be consistent and post 3 times a week. Doesn't mean that's all you can do. You love it and you're like really enjoying it, you can go up, but keep this ratio. You want to have 2 posts a week that are purely value adding. You want to provide entertainment, education, or inspiration. You are not asking for anything. You are just contributing to the conversation. Essentially, social media is an online conversation with your community. If you ever like really rolled your eyes at someone and they made you feel really cringy because you saw them on social, it's probably because they walked in there like someone who walks into a networking meeting and all they want to do is talk about themselves and all they want to do is give you their business card and try to land you as a lead. It is very icky because you know they're not there to contribute to the conversation. They're not there to genuinely interact. They're just trying to take. We don't want to do that, but at the same time, we're businesses. We're not posting on social because we have nothing else better to do that day. We're doing it because it is an intentional business activity. So here's how you balance it. 2 posts a week, you're joining the conversation, and you can join the conversation with that core content bundle. Just talking a little bit more about what you do and how it's relevant to the community and your customers and clients, that's at least joining the conversation. No CTA, no call to action, do not ask for anything. But once a week, you give that really clear, hey, if you're interested in learning more about this service I've been talking about, give me a call, but send me an email. Don't call. Nobody wants phone calls. Send me an email, send me a message, or come by the store. Here's our hours. Like really, really clear, consistent call to actions. It's almost like growing a garden where you're planting and then that ask is the harvest. Just giving people that reminder and keeping it top of mind that you're not just there to have a conversation, you're also a business, and there's an invitation to move forward in that way as well. So that's the first set of tactics. Really, really easy. I find the struggle we often enter when we first want to start doing social media is as soon as you start talking about reels and hooks and hashtags and algorithms, it gets really overwhelming very quickly because you're trying to learn the technical side of the platforms. Really, all we need is the marketing side because we're not there to optimize and be the most influential person on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. Definitely an avenue if that's the direction you want to go. I've yet to meet a small business owner that was their goal. The goal is always to bring in clients or customers. That is how you do it. That's all you need to do. It is a very substantial, I want to use the word lucrative, but effective way to use social media in a way that is sustainable and achievable for us small business owners. When you're ready to take it up a notch, your business is really solid. You either have bought your own time back, so you have some time to invest in this and you want to do your marketing, or you're ready to bring in someone in your team and invest in them being able to do your marketing, or you're going to hire it out or something. Always, always, always put on your CMO hat when you're hiring. This is another piece that happens quite frequently. I've had so many clients who had invested substantial amount of money. One was it $2,000 a month she was paying for her social, and it was nice content. There was nothing wrong with the production content, but there was no strategy behind it. So I think she was doing it for almost a year. She invested so much money and literally did not get a single DM, a single lead, a single email. She got 0 out of it because she had not put on her CMO hat and she hadn't told the social media person, okay, great. I love your angles. Here's what I need out of this. Here's the strategy I need you to help me execute. So we always need to take responsibility for our marketing. Otherwise, not that everybody is looking to be advantageous, but there are a lot of people out there, post-trust economy, there are a lot of people out there who genuinely are just happy to sell you and they don't really and it's fair for them whether it ends up in results for your business or not is not their responsibility. And I do agree. If we're going to be small business owners and entrepreneurs, that is our responsibility. At the end of the day, we are not just the person who creates the product or service. We are the owner of the business. It's like being the parent of the business. So we want to really own this. So if you decide to move even further into your small, okay, I see a question pop up. I have like ADHD, so if we we want to move even further into social media. And we're like, let's go. And you can do really cool things with social media. This is the next level. These 4 objectives. So your core content, always, 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 always be putting out that know, like, and trust. It's easy social media content. And you will always need to give new people a chance to know, like, and trust you and to deepen your relationship with people. There's people who have been in my audience for a couple of years now, and there's still pieces of my know, like, and trust that they're getting to know. They're like, I didn't know that about you. That is so cool. So always, always, always use the core content bundle, the know, like, and trust, to build relationships. Relationships are how you build your market share. When people they know, like, and trust you, you become their default purchasing option. And that is how a business stays sustainable. You need to be in people's consumer cycles, because otherwise and you do not want to chase people constantly. It's exhausting. The other ones we can do, and I'm going to go really deep into this, there's another learning piece coming up, is we can build our brand, we can do a sales campaign, and we can increase our visibility. Each of these are done in a campaign, which means you want to look at it from like 3 months. 3 to 4 months is a really great campaign length. You can do mini micro campaigns. I did one for Small Business Week. You can play around with it, but really understand that this is structured. It's not like I am always doing. The one thing you're always doing on social is your core content. Know, like, and trust. Campaigns are designed around your business and your market cycles. We're going to go into some business development topics here. One of the really, really cool parts of marketing, why I really love it, and I'm genuinely very happy I chose it as a profession. Prior to this, I did classical French cuisine, so it was a bit of a jump. But what I love about it is it's actually business development. Knowing how to work with the market means you know how to develop your own business. So we want to talk about market and sales cycles, and what they are is predictable patterns in demand and activity. It's influenced by seasons, events, and economic trends, and it will guide your marketing and your sales timing. When we did the holiday marketing campaign, or the holiday marketing webinar, I'm in campaign mode, that was specifically talking about the sales cycle we had coming up in Q4 during the holidays. We're going to talk about that a little bit here too. Each opportunity or each sales cycle is an opportunity for us to put specific things out on social. There's a really funny thing that happens in the summer, because the summer is a downturn, which we'll talk about, in the social media management groups that I'm in. Every single summer in June or July, August, you get people like, oh my God, my reach is tanked. I'm getting no engagement. I haven't changed anything. What's going on? And all of us seasoned people are like, don't worry, it's the summer. People just are not online. It is just a very predictable cycle. That is what we're going to talk about now. For the most part, there's 3 parts of this cycle. We have peaks, downturns, and plateaus. These happen every year. And if you've been in business any length of time, you'll have a natural intuitive sense of this. If it's a little foggy for you, this is a worthwhile exercise to sit down and really map out for yourself, because if you can understand this about your business, you will be a much more empowered business owner. It also happens in larger, like, year-long cycles. We have been in an economic downturn for quite some time. Similar properties that happens regardless of whether it's a monthly cycle or a couple of years. So downturns, generalizing, the summer is a downturn for most industries unless you're in hospitality or tourism. There is very little consumer activity happening in the summer. It doesn't mean you can't tap into it, but it means there's a very specific top of mind energy for consumers during this time. And you have to be very, very mindful of anything you're trying to sell to make sure it relates to them. For the most part, June and July, unless you are very specialized to summer activities, you're not going to see much traction. It's a very low time for most businesses. Peaks, that's where we are right now, everybody. The Q4, so October, November, December, huge spending, especially if you're in retail. Like, it's just, and even the small business market, that amps up. There's a lot going on right now. Really great time for sales campaigns, which we're going to get into. Plateaus are where things are not a downturn. They're not the lowest, but they're just kind of stable. There's nothing really exciting happening. They've just kind of baselined. When we look at what we want to put out on our social media, in terms of these different types of cycles, we can tap into them in different ways. There is no point in putting out a sales campaign trying to sell on social media during the summer if you are not selling something that is specific to summer activities. You might as well pull back and relax, because you will be so frustrated and you will take in false data about your business and be like, oh my gosh, people are suddenly not interested in this anymore. It's not that, it's the sales cycle. And it's not even just your sales cycle. Social media usage has cycles. Like I said, in the summer, thankfully, we do live in a culture where people are getting off of their phones in the summer. They're busy, they're at the beach, they're spending time with their family. They just are not consuming as much online. And that's a really good thing. But we want to make sure we're not trying to then push out hardcore social media campaigns during the summer. We want to work with the cycles, not against them. So sales campaigns, which are like you are pushing something specifically you want to sell. You can do this on social, but you want to do it during specific times. Peak periods, if you're in retail, this is why I did the holiday marketing workshop. I think it was in October, because if you're in retail, you want to run a campaign on your social. Everybody is looking for things to purchase and they love shopping local. So sales campaigns are really, really good to run during your market peak times. For most of us, it's in the fall into December. It might change depending on your industry. Get to know them. You will be thankful for yourself. It's also really good for post-brand campaigns. These are just little like extra layers. And during product launches, if you have a new product or service you've developed, do a sales campaign on social media. Let people know about it. I have a coaching client who does these really beautiful jot note journals, and she's now doing a campaign through she's in the creation stage. She's still producing them. So she's sharing that story with people on social as part of her launch campaign. So when she's ready to sell, people have been coming along the journey with her. So always use sales campaigns when you're launching something new. Social media, you can bring people into the experience. You can let them know the product is there. You can build like, know, and trust while you're doing it. Brand campaigns, if I had had a magic wand during the last economic downturn, we're starting to move into a bit of recovery, but if I could have helped every small business owner in the Bay of Quinte, I would have asked them to run brand campaigns, because during downturns, people aren't spending. That's what makes it a downturn, both in terms of months where like January tends to be a downturn. We're all kind of exhausted from spending for the holidays, but also when we're in tight economic times, we have downturns. This is the perfect time to build your brand and to connect with people about brands, because what happens is you become top of mind. If you are consistently posting on social and connecting with people and letting them know what you value and what you stand for, when the money comes back, and we always go in cycles, you now become the decision they have by default. It will mean that you might not be able to make sales during the downturn, but it sets you up to make higher sales when the peak cycle comes back. It's also nice to run brand campaigns after peak cycles, because you've probably brought in new people into your audience, and it's nice to give them that chance to know you again. And this is the one we all want, which is visibility campaigns. A lot of the times when we talk about social media and we're talking about reach, what we're really talking about is visibility campaigns. I want you to see how there is multiple types of campaigns we can run. Doesn't make any sense to run visibility campaigns during sales cycles because people are buying. You should tap into that. Doesn't make much sense to run them during downturns because consumption is really low. They're really, really great for plateau periods because people are still online. They're not busy doing other things. They're engaged. They're just kind of passively consuming. It's a really great time to get in front of new audiences. It's also nice to do before you run a sales campaign. If you know you have something, like you have Christmas coming up, in August, September, doing a visibility campaign with high reach content is really smart, because you'll grow that audience that you can then sell to. And if you're entering a new market, like I said earlier, if you have been selling to Belleville and you want to sell to Trenton, a visibility campaign is a really great way to get in front of new Trenton people. For the very last part, and I will have lots of time for Q&A, I'm going to go into how we do visibility campaigns. The other campaigns, there's ways to run them as well, but I know for a lot of us, what we really want to know is how do we grow our audience? I just want to tell you, brand is important. As we know from the downturns, Brand, when really big organizations and companies are evaluated, like Coca-Cola, their value is not based just on the amount of factories they have, it's based on their brand equity. That is how important your brand is. It is the reason people will choose you over competitors. I could sing from the rooftop. I need to do a brand workshop is what I need to do. So to run a successful visibility campaign, it is not rocket science. Like I said, I did a very, very short, concise one for my magazine, completely organic. And even with that, I was able to get in front of about 10K people. I think I only used 20 pieces of content, but I used it following these very specific rules. This is where we do need to start having some level of being savvy on social media, which is why it's not always the right choice. Sometimes we're better in person. A lot of us are better in person. A lot of us would much rather go to a networking event and be able to shake hands and have conversations than to have to like dance and point around on TikTok, which you do not have to do. But the first part for a successful visibility campaign is short form video. The platforms like short form video, they push it out more. It's more engaging for the audience. It's just all of them. Anyone has been watching, they're all merging into the same type of platform. They all keep adding features. Video, YouTube has shorts now, and LinkedIn has short form video, and Instagram has longer video. They're all just merging. So it doesn't matter what platform, they all like short form videos. You do want to understand the structure of a video. There has to be a very quick hook at the beginning. You cannot get on and be like, hi, my name is Cheyenne, and I have done this, which is why I know. You really need to get on and be like, are you a small business owner wondering? Like, there has to be within the first 6 seconds a hook, a reason for people to pay attention. When we're flipping and we're scrolling, we do not sit and wait. We get caught by the things that feel relevant. So short form videos, you really want to make them relatable and good quality with hooks in the first few seconds. Once you figure out a structure and a template to them, they become very easy to redo. And you do not constantly, I like to use the term reinvent the reel. It's not something you have to redo every time. You can use the same template, but you do want to follow this kind of structure. The other piece to successful visibility campaigns is community content. I have what's called content rings rather than content pillars. The very core of your ring is your offer. It's your products or services. You're going to talk about that at times. And then there's your topics, which is your shared interests that relate to your products and services with your audience. And then the outermost ring is your community. Which geographic or industry community or lifestyle community do you belong in? Does your product and service serve? When you know that, and you want a visibility campaign, you create content that speaks to the community at large. So you focus on broad, relatable themes that resonate with the wider audience that your target market belongs to. So I talk a lot about brand and content marketing and conversion funnels and campaigns. Those are kind of my main topics. When I do community content, I can talk to Bay of Quinte small business owners. I can talk to authentic small business owners. So those are my community content. When I want to run a visibility campaign and I want to bring more people into my audience, that's the type of content that I focus on. You can engage with the trends. They're fun. Instagram specifically makes it really, really easy where they give you like trending audio. They really are feeding it to us because they need us to do this. If it fits your brand, it fits you, play around with it if you're trying to grow visibility, but always make sure you're staying authentic. They can be a really fun way to tap into stuff. Like the one that the city did, I'm pretty sure that was a trend that was going around. And it was so beautifully done. Like it was the perfect marketing to put out there. I was so impressed with it. So you can definitely play around with them, but don't feel like if it feels like a force, don't do it because that energy will come across to your audience. If it feels really fun and you're happy to do it, definitely jump in. Social media is still social. And because it's a trend, the audience will enjoy it because they're like, oh, look, they're doing something that we're all kind of sharing this experience right now. And the algorithm will like it because the more people are doing trending things, the more they're connecting on social. This is a really cool one, making it shareable. And that does not mean like the technical aspects of sharing, but creating content that's easy for people to share, quick tips, inspirational quotes, visually appealing infographics, anything that someone's like, oh, my friend would really use this. I'm going to send this over. It's value for them to send it to somebody else. That is incredible visibility content because they will share it out. The magazine, I've used this a lot for the content to create visibility for that. I did a lineup of events, that type of stuff. People share that because it's very shareable. It's like, hey, I know other moms who live in Trenton. I'm going to send them this post. That increases my visibility, not just to the person they send it to, but it flags to the algorithm that this is highly shareable, which means it's valuable content, which means they're going to put it out in front of more people. And the last piece is sharing emotional stories. Stories are how we communicate and they resonate, and people love connecting over shared emotions. So content that connects emotionally will encourage wider audience engagement. It has to be relevant to your audience and your business, but this is where you don't have to shy away from getting a little personal and being a little vulnerable and a little open and authentic. It's not a therapy session. The idea is not just to like trauma dump all over the internet. The idea is just to tap into some of those deeper reasons behind why you do what you do. You'll notice some small business owners do it really beautifully in our area where they open up, they get a little vulnerable for a minute. And those are always the ones that have the most reach and the most visibility because people really love it. And we love being able to connect in that way. So I am just going to grab, I can't remember if I have my links. That is, I see a couple of things in the comments. I will take a look at that. If you are interested, if you're like, hey, I like all the information dumping this lady gives, I give a lot of information. I have a group program coming up, and both of these actually have pricing that ends on Friday. So I have a Black Friday promo where I'm giving 50% off marketing audits, and I have an annual marketing plan intensive in January. That's a small group program, and that has early bird pricing that ends on Friday. I'm going to drop those links in the chat. And there is me, if any. I know there's some questions. Ashley, is there any particular times you found it's best to engage? Currently trying the 3 posts, one being morning, another afternoon, third in evening, but haven't enough data to discover what's working best. So if you're using Meta Business Suite, Ashley, or Amy, sorry, to post, generally they will tell you the time the most of your audience is online once they have enough data. Until then, generally from all of the accounts I've managed, 3 o'clock seems to be a very high time. I think it's when people are getting off of work. And oddly, the weekend, Saturday at like 9 for some strange reason. Oh, that actually, yeah, I'm thinking about it too. It's like, yeah, no, actually, that does make sense. We're kind of winding down and we're on our phones. So generally 3 o'clock during the weekdays and then Saturday at 9. But the more you build your audience, Meta will be able to give you very specific recommendations. I will find getting obsessed about the time is not necessarily going to serve us too well. As long as we're consistently posting every week, the algorithm will pull up our old posts and put it in front of people who tend to engage so they won't miss it just because we posted it at a different time. I remember when Instagram came out with stories. Yes, I thought it was too similar to Snapchat, but now I love Insta stories. From rather post a story, I post my regular feed. It's funny, isn't it? How every single platform just copies the features of the other platform till they all just start to merge and they're the same anyways. Early on weekend works well too. For some, yeah, I post early on weekends for some of my clients, and it tends to be people who have older audiences because they tend to be up earlier. Or this is what it means. Like, it's about your audience. I'm an early bird. I'm up at like 3 or 4 every morning. So I don't mind things that are posted early. It catches me. But it will be like based on your audience. There's a lot of variabilities there. Insta stories are really cool in the fact that they talk directly to it goes out to your audience. And only, well, they've adjusted it. I think last week they made an update, but for the most part, Insta stories are really, really, really great way to connect with the people who are already in your audience. It's also a great place to sell. If you're selling, do it on stories because those are the people who are most engaged and already know, like, and trust you. Okay. Any other questions? Feel free to let me know. You can chime in. I'm going to dump my links in the chat. It's also my email for anybody that wants that. I'm going to remove my spotlight. Dun, 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 dun. The Cheyenne. It's very, I talk a lot. Hashtags. Yes, let's talk about hashtags. Oh, So for Reels, especially if you're geographically based, you want to tag the location. There's a couple of little like tricks you can do. You can put alt text in, that type of stuff. But honestly, for the most part, it's the quality of your content. If your content is good quality, it will get pushed out without you having to do a lot of really tricky things. But one of the most important parts about that hashtag switch is that you want to make sure you're using keywords. So for me, I consistently use Dave Quinney, Quinney West, small business marketing. I consistently build that into my copy and the written portion of my text. Any other questions?
I have a question. I find it very difficult to post reviews that are really positive because it makes me feel like I'm just bragging about it. And so, like, how do you do it in an authentic way that's not, I find that difficult.
Yeah, that's super.
And technically, what is the best way to show them?
So what I love about this, that is a common hiccup. And also I find businesses who are doing really good things for the community, they don't want to share it. Like, oh, I'm not doing it for the bragging rights. And I'm like, well, the reframe I give there is if you want an opportunity to serve more people, because you know who's not going to hesitate to brag and to kind of pull the wool over people's eyes is Walmart. They're not going to hesitate to blast from the rooftops. Oh, look at all the local charities we contribute to. If we want to do right by our community and give them the option to choose us as businesses, we need to give them all the information. Otherwise, we're not doing our part of giving the community an option to choose what business they invest in. And that includes giving them the reviews that other people have had, because again, you know who's not going to hesitate to give social proof and say how much other people love them is the big box stores, because they know it works. So I like reframing it that is actually in service of our community and the people we want to work with. As for the technical side of it, Canva has really lovely graphics. Just use one of those, change it to match your brand. That's a big part. Make sure your colors and your fonts are consistent. If you can tag the person, if they're comfortable with that, usually if they're happy with their service, they absolutely love to support us. So if you have their names and you can tag them, they'll then share it to theirs and it'll increase the visibility a bit. Plus, if they have anything they're doing on their social, it gives back to them in that way too.
And so you would just like copy and paste whatever they wrote up and put it into something like that.
Usually you have to like shorten it because people are really generous and they give you like 2 paragraphs. You want like 2 or 3 sentences at most. You can put the full testimonial or review in the copy part of the post if you want to, but on the graphic, because you can only read so much, really grab like 2 or 3 of the results sentences. Like, after working, this is how I like really give the results of it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Very welcome. Anything else? Crickets. You guys can always send me emails afterwards. I dumped my email in there. I absolutely love. Can we review keywords? Yes, we can. Ashley, thank you. I am really excited about this. I get juiced up about silly little things on social media. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Keywords are fun. It's essentially what we used to have to do on our websites, which is, SEO, which is finding the specific words people are going to look for. It's now transferred right over to the social media platforms, because social media has actually become a search engine. So really the same process I go through for Google My Business and SEO optimization for my businesses, I do the same thing for the social. You identify the same set of keywords that you're aiming at. Usually you want to think about your target market. If you're geographically based, that's easy. It's the name of the city and the name of the region that you're working with. If you're working with an industry, so for me, it's small business owners or independent business owners, that's another one of your keywords. What you're offering, your product or service, is another one. Really, that about captures what you need. And you just want to consistently be literally typing those words out into your copy. Organically incorporating them in is the best, where it's just you're naturally talking about them. Sometimes, though, that takes a level that we just don't have a focus. You can also, actually, I don't know if I mentioned this to you. A lot of my clients, what I recommend is writing up a little blurb, like a 2-sentence blurb. I am so-and-so, and I serve so-and-so doing such and such. You just copy and paste it and put it at the bottom of every single post. So you don't have to rethink it. It captures your keywords and you know it's always there. Yes, yes, I think I've seen it from you, Ashley. Yeah, that's what you want to be doing. Bonus points for putting it in the graphic copy. They will actually scan your graphics as well, but that's like a next level of it.
I heard recently that when you post something, like the picture itself, like the JPEG or whatever, if you name it like something strategic, then it actually like also like helps the algorithm or whatever, which like I thought was crazy because I'm like notorious for like, oh, save as untitled image.
Yeah.
And then now I'm like, now I know this. So yeah, if you name your images something like related to your post or whatever, then that'll also like gain more traction.
What's happened is all the old tactics for website optimization, and that's one of them. It's every single piece of data the spider can crawl through to get indications of who you're relevant to. Every time you can reinforce that, the higher you'll perform. These are really nitty gritty things, though. It
Yeah.
always comes down to the value of your content. But yeah, social media has just become exactly like a website now.
Yeah, and how you were saying that it's like a search engine, I find myself like totally skipping past Google and like if I have like a question or like if I'm trying to like what I would normally use Google for, I like type it into TikTok and then I get like videos and like step-by-step tutorials. Like I think that's just crazy to me.
Between TikTok and the search and the social in general, but ChatGPT as well.
Yeah,
Google
for sure.
on life support. It is in a
Yes.
bad place. Google Ads. If anyone's running Google Ads and you're seeing a drop, it's because of that, because there's just not enough people utilizing it anymore.
I find it kind of ironic because I'll like go to Google to type in ChatGPT.
Me too.
So
You use it to access the other ones.
yeah. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny how quickly things evolve, especially online. And this is why it gets kind of overwhelming as business owners. But this type of stuff that I gave today, it's the principles. These never age out. So if we start here, and we don't need to be like super nitty gritty optimized to get results that we need from our business. By the time we get to that level, we can hire someone else to worry about the really small.
We have another question.
Oh, social medias that do really well. The Grind and Vine downtown is absolutely incredible. Anything Taylor does is absolutely incredible. Wanamakers is a really interesting one because they're very hands off. I like they do it so simplistic, so simply, but it works so perfectly well. They know exactly what they need to do and not anything else. Trenton Deli, I'm obsessed with. There's a lot of food ones that I'm obsessed with. I love my food stores in Trenton. These Four Walls, she's very good at it. Another tip, if you're looking for community awareness, is Facebook groups. Absolutely post in Facebook groups, community groups. They're a great, easy way to get in front of your market. Do I have any ChatGPT sessions? I should do one. I incorporate it into all of my training now when I do my programs, and that maybe that's one we could talk about, Amy, is a AI for marketing. I think it's a conversation to be had.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Any other questions? I love questions. I love marketing. I love talking. Very welcome. This is great. I really hope maybe I'll send some summaries of some of this because I know it was a lot. If I send you a PDF, Amy, would you be able to send it to people?
Sure, 100%. That would be awesome.
I know I throw a lot, and I really distilled this down so that people can just cut and paste and follow it. And use ChatGPT to do that because it's if you're not using ChatGPT, definitely use it. You can just plug anything in there and say, here, create this for me. Here's my brand. Here's what I sell. Use my tone of voice, and it'll just spit it out for you. And then you always have to edit it, but it saves us a lot of time.
Yes, that's for sure. I actually attended a like an AI webinar a couple weeks ago, and like the presenter like put together an entire event that had like that was like related to like their brand and target market and everything, and it was just like she did it in 15 minutes. So I
It's
thought that was
scary.
crazy. And like a whole website rebrand,
Yeah.
like, and it was good too. Like it wasn't even just, so yeah.
As long as you have the input, the output, that's
Yeah.
why with my guides I use with my coaching clients and my consulting, I give them the guides so they can actually dump it in the chat GPT so that they have the input they need and they don't have to figure it out.
Yeah, you
I
have
use
to
the
be
paid
really
version.
specific for
Yeah.
sure.
You have to know what you need it. Yes, there's so many. I also use the AI in Canva for generating graphics. So many shortcuts now as small business owners that we really want to tap into with AI. Beautiful. Okay. I think we are. Any last questions? AI is always a big conversation.
Yes.
I see a hand.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello. Yep.
It's good to see you, Cheyenne. I worked with you like 4 years ago.
I remember.
So, she was amazing and is even a bigger powerhouse. Uh, um, so I still do a little bit of web work, and I've been running Black River Market and the Black River Cheese Factory, which is an extension of what we were working together before.
Mhm.
But so I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a company in the back called Pyramid Ferments, and they make fermented products. Have you ever seen?
Yes. Yep.
So she asked me if I could help her with her social, and I said, I actually referred her to you.
Oh,
And
thank you.
so I said, no, like I can't do that, and you need somebody dedicated to do that.
Mhm.
But at the same time, Rachel, who was helping me at the beginning of the year, basically she's like, you need to do stuff, make reels, get on there, doing all the things like in our amateur version of what you've been saying here. But it like my question is about time and marketing as a business owner because she's super busy and she wants somebody to do it for her. But at the same time, Rachel's always was always after me to do stuff myself. So I'm like, well, I could do it for you, but really you need to
Yeah.
be doing it yourself at the start. Like you're not, I know you're really busy, but if you pan it off, it ends up coming off as like your inauthentic thing.
Yep.
So would you agree? Like at the
100%.
needs to be doing like making it a habit. I like to say habit stack. Like every time you make your pickles, like do a little thing or
Yep.
right. Would you agree? Like she does need to be taking this on. She can't farm it out at the beginning. Like
No, when I started, I was doing social media management and I was doing it. And I quickly recognized, even as dedicated as I was never going to be able to do it as well as the business owner themselves.
yeah, okay.
That's why I have that core content bundle to start with, because they do get overwhelmed with the time commitment. If you can just get her to make a core content bundle, she can reuse that. And then when she does find she doesn't have time for the habits of like taking the pickle pictures, there's something that's always going out that she can use, because building the habit of making the social media is very, very difficult to ask them to do. It is the part they resist the most, but making one bundle of content, that's something that they can usually wrap their heads around. There's a closed project time for it, and then they have that to always go out.
Okay. Okay. Good. Great. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. I think she's
Perfect.
right.
Glad to help. Okay. I actually went a good length of time this time.
Yes. Perfect. So if there aren't any more questions, I would just like to thank everyone for coming and thank Cheyenne for all of her amazing expertise and information that she's shared with us. If you haven't seen her magazine, Wishes on Main Street, you should definitely check that out. I think we have the link in some of our like past e-newses that have been going out the past few weeks. Definitely check it out. Get some ideas for the holidays. Yeah, so that's our session. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thanks again, Cheyenne.
You're
I'll
welcome.
stop recording now.